Okay, Gold Derbyites, we are here. The night, is it evening over there? I guess it is, of the Emmy nominations. Uh, Now, there's always some big snubs. There's always some outrage when these things come out. But let's start on a positive note. Charles, what were you most happy to see in the Emmy nominations for 2016?
Well, Laurie Metcalf getting 3 nominations is always a good thing in my book. I adore her, and I think she's having this wonderful career resurgence on television now. So that made me very happy. Thomas Middleditch breaking into lead actor in a comedy, I thought was great. Silicon Valley, even though having not the best season, still getting more of those inroads with the Emmys. So even if that may not what's the word I'm looking for? Foretell a victory for it this year. That probably won't happen. It's getting more and more. It's making more of those inroads, just like Veep did before its win last year. So that's those are mine, and also just the depth of everything in Movie Mini.
Ralph, what were you happiest about?
Happiest overall about was Louis Anderson getting in for supporting actor in I was almost going to say actress in a comedy because he plays a mother, but actor in a comedy series. I think he's so deserving of that and gave probably the best comedic performance on the male side this season. Also really ecstatic about Thomas Middleditch getting in there. I mean, that was so deserved. We were thinking that these actors were cursed on Silicon Valley because they just never would get in, and they were so good. And this year, Thomas Middleditch had an exceptional year. And if it was still on a jury panel where you had to judge by episode, and he submitted one of his best, I'm not sure he could lose because he was so good this season. And then also on the drama side, I was excited to see Constance Zimmer break in for Unreal. She's great. It's a great show. It got a writing nomination. Marty Noxon, who's the executive producer of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, gets into the writing category. So those are probably some of the best ones. And of course, I don't have to mention Tatiana Maslany because you already know that.
Yeah. I think with me the thing I was happiest about was some people that weren't maybe even from shows that do well at the Emmys, but that haven't been nominated before. So seeing a Matt Walsh get in, seeing a Maisie Williams get in for Game of Thrones, seeing some of these actors that are often overshadowed by your Julia Louis-Dreyfuses or Tony Hales or Peter Dinklages. Really break through this year. And also seeing people like a Laurie Metcalf getting in for Getting On, and even though they might not all be my favorite performances, some of those ones, but it showed that Emmy voters were paying attention to various things and not just ticking off the all the same shows, and not just the top rating shows, but some of the more under the radar performances, like Constance Zimmer, like you said, Ralph. So yeah, pretty good. Okay, what we've been nice, we've been good. What are we fuming about, Charles? What are you really, really peeved about with the nominations?
Okay, let me see here. I got my legal pad, and let's see here. So, I gotta say, so everybody knows I'm a real cartoon buff. I love animation, and the animated programs nominated in the animated field are fine. They're good, but was really hoping for something amazing to break through. BoJack Horseman and Rick and Morty both had amazing second seasons, completely deserving of being recognized, probably also in the writing category because they were so well constructed. It just really bothers me that the animation category of everything else being jumbled, that category still looks the same. Movie Mini supporting actor, no Connor Jessup and no Joey Polari for American Crime. That the lack of American Crime only got 4 nominations. That broke my heart because that was such a fantastic series this year. No Rhea Seehorn. No The Circus. The Circus where we interviewed the guys from it, that got completely shut out. Stephen Tobolowsky, who had a guest stint this year on Silicon Valley, he should have been up for guest actor in a comedy. And I'm sorry, but I've never been a fan of Kit Harington, so him getting in for playing Jon Snow, I really just want to show up wherever he is in Hollywood and just have signs that say, "I wish you were still dead."
Whoa. Okay.
On the show. On the show. He means on the show.
Yes, for now.
What Ralph? What were you most upset about?
Most upset. I think I'm with Charlie on that one with Ray Seahorn. I thought she was incredible on Better Call Saul, and I think it just and also Michael McKean. I think it just proves that their rubber stamping of the same last year shows that they don't really watch the show. That they're just checking off the Breaking Bad kind of prequel, which is a shame because both of those actors deserve to get in. Also, I don't know what else I was majorly upset about. I guess, I was really hoping Vera Farmiga could get in for her final season of Norman Bates. Or I just may have spoiled it, but it's already been aired, so you know what happens. Of Norman Bates, I thought she was pretty incredible. But I think I'm not sure if I can be too upset. Of course, I'm not upset about, or I am upset, but not really looking at it about Gina Rodriguez being stuffed again and Jane the Virgin. But it just shows that Emmy voters just don't watch the CW. Like it's just not on their radar. And something amazing. I mean, because it's like, EGOT winner Rita Moreno can't get into the guest actress category. That there's just it doesn't matter how much star power you put on the CW, it's just probably not going to happen. So it's unfortunate for them, though they did get a record number of nominations this year. Still, you're in the very low single digits compared to like all these streaming services. So I guess there are a few things that bothered me, but all in all, I like a lot of the mix, the change up that we saw. I mean, like I said, I think they're getting Thomas Middleditch in there and getting some other folks in there kind of evens out the other ones. And I'm bummed for Uzo, but I think it actually shows that Emmy voters were watching Orange is the New Black season 3 because it wasn't really up to what the other seasons were. And I was even conflicted, like what would Uzo submit if she's nominated. So that's unfortunate, but I think we'll get to some of those other points later on.
Yeah, no, so for sure. And I think my biggest sort of outrages are Ray Seahorn for Better Call Saul, The Circus, the best informational series, Michael McKean as well. I think they're the sort of people I was really hoping would see pop in there that didn't. Timothy Simons from Veep. It's hard when it was Matt Walsh who took sort of who had that slot. So I'm not too upset about that last one just because I think they're all great on that show. It doesn't, I'm not going, oh, Tim Simons was so much better than Matt Walsh or Robbed or whatever. But yeah, so there we go. What are the big stories from this nomination that we haven't talked yet about, guys? Is there anything that's sort of percolating? Maybe not a huge outrage or a huge celebration, but just something that is of note?
For as much as the Emmys love to, sort of stay with what they know. When it comes to streaming services, they've been really open from the get-go since they finally finalized the regulations of how they welcome them in. And this year is probably the best example of that. Netflix received 54 nominations. That's more than any of the networks, I believe, any of the broadcast networks. Because I think the most was NBC with 40-something. And that's 20 more than they got last year. That last year they had 34 nominations, and this year they come in with 54 nominations. In both series categories. It's just, it's amazing what they're doing now, and I think that is really one of the big takeaways from this year's nominations.
Ralph?
I think one of the biggest that I noticed was that, I think there's two things. There's one where the 4,000 new members this year of the TV Academy, I think, had a big say, especially since half of them came in the acting branch, had a big say in what happened, because what we didn't see was them giving a flying crap about you having your final season. Don Cheadle, out of there. Jim Carter, who we all thought is always a lock for anything, out of there. Michelle Dockery didn't come back. Juliana Margulies, the Good Wife in particular, just completely just imploded. Like, they just didn't care about it. I mean, Christine Baranski wasn't in there. That was shocking because I thought she could potentially win. I mean, it was like out with the old and let's put in some new. That was kind of shocking to me.
It really is the Emmys do have a history of not always being the most sentimental award show, and this year are nominations that bore out. What do we think? I think another big story is the Americans really breaking in this year. Sort of is it fourth or fifth season now? Often when a show's fallen off the radar like that, or it hasn't never been embraced by the Emmys, it's sort of hard to break in. But this year, the Emmys took notice. I think there were a couple of open slots in lead actor and drama series, and like The Americans was the show that really took advantage of that. Almost similar to how Friday Night Lights did a couple of years ago in its fourth season. It didn't quite, the first year it didn't get the drama series nomination, but it got the two leads in, and then the next year it got them for drama series. And you saw like, oh, we didn't know, we weren't necessarily sure that Emmy voters were going to start paying attention to this show. So that's a really great news for the Americans, and hopefully Charles some consolation for Mark Halperin from the Circus, who told us before our chat that was one of his favorite shows.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Nominated. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was really interesting when I saw that happen, because my approach to the Americans, and I've kept on saying this, has been my same approach to the CW. I'm not going to predict. I've been let down so many times that I'm just not going to predict it, and I won't believe it until I actually see it happen. Well, now I've seen it happen, so if the Americans for their next two seasons keeps it up, I will be comfortable putting it in my predictions. But I was very right to keep the CW off of my other, including Rachel Bloom for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, who probably had the most buzz, considering she had won the Globe and Critics' Choice going into this thing. But I didn't think it would pan out. I didn't think it would pan out at all. And I'm glad I stuck with that. Though they did manage to get in for a song nomination.
Yeah, I guess that's also something too. Is that like I think with that, not just that, but let's look at Mozart in the Jungle and stuff like that. It just shows that the Emmys don't give a flying crap as well about early award shows, the critics award shows. I mean, TCA nominations, any of that stuff. Like, they don't pay attention to any of that. They're very much on their own and could care less about any precursors, which I think will help now. With thinking about future nominations, is like we said, The Americans was nominated not at the Globes ever, and 5 seasons later it pops up at the Emmys.
It was nominated for series, I think, one year at the Globes.
At the Golden Globes?
That was it. Yeah, but a series, and that was it, I think.
I don't think it was. Okay.
Okay, we'll fact check that one. Yeah. I think it is really interesting with shows like what we talk about. With those Globe shows. Yeah, no, and I wrote a piece for Gold Derby the day before the nomination, sort of going, saying I think like Mr. Robot may or may not get in, but the other those other Globe winners like Mozart in the Jungle and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend are really going to struggle.
I think one that we needs to be put in, and if anybody actually predicted this one, kudos to them. One of the far out Golden Globes things did come true. Maura Tierney got in for The Affair.
Yeah.
So I mean, kudos to, if anybody predicted that, kudos to you for getting that one right. Because that was when I was just prepared to say, oh, that's just one of those crazy Golden Globe things that's never going to happen.
Yeah, she's in. Do you?
Well, I can hear you. I think you kind of froze up a little bit, so I didn't hear your question.
Oh. Oh, man. How are you going, Charles? Can you hear Ralph or me, or who can't you hear?
There was a bit of a slowdown there, but I can hear you guys now.
Okay, cool. Win these categories. Last year, Game of Thrones won drama series. It's back with I think 23 nominations this year. Is it on track to win again, Ralph?
Year still, it racked up even more nominations in the acting branch with Kit Harington getting in, directing, writing, got all the things that you need for it to win. It's got love everywhere, just like it had last year. Still on a popular vote. I think it's got, I'm not going to say it's a lock to win, but I think it's as close as you could possibly be, unless something crazy happens the next couple months where just Netflix throws every dollar they have towards House of Cards.
What do you think, Charles?
Yeah, I think it's probably the favorite out of the gate. Now that it's proven it can win drama series, which was probably the biggest obstacle for a lot of people last year if they weren't predicting it. Now that it's proven it can win, I'd say it's probably the favorite. I still think House of Cards could pull off something, but it's still, to me, it's Game of Thrones to lose.
You look at 3 supporting actress nominations in the drama series field and 2 supporting actors in the drama acting field, and it gives you a lot of confidence behind that Game of Thrones prediction. But it does have 1 less nomination than last year. It has not gone up, it has gone down. And House of Cards has 2 more nominations than they had last year. Like, one of those shows is on the rise, and one of those shows is on the drop. Like,
but still, nowhere close to Game of Thrones, though. Nowhere close to their number. And also, you also look at, proportionally where things are. Last year we had for the first 2 seasons you had just Peter Dinklage nominated, and then 3 and 4 you had Peter Dinklage and then a supporting woman nominated. The first year was Emilia Clarke, then Lena Headey. Last year we knew there was a lot of ramping up because both Lena and Emilia got in. Now not only are all 3 of them back, but in the supporting actress category, we have a 3rd person with Maisie Williams, and in the supporting actor field, Kit Harington in there as well. So I think it's really showing that it's on board with that show.
Ralph?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I already. I already gave my 2 cents on Game of Thrones, and I think even if you go down by 1 nomination in the year, you're still in pretty darn good shape.
Okay. One show, I see that. I think it's a 2-horse race. I don't think you do pretty much one of those 2 shows can win. Speak up now.
I didn't get. What was that last part again?
If you think another show could win, speak up now. No. Okay, great. So, in the comedy series race, you have Veep that has completely exploded on the Emmy scene. Well, last year it won Best Comedy Series, but this year it's gone up from 9 nominations to 17 nominations. Is there any stopping Veep from winning this year? It was looking pretty strong heading into this nominations announcement. It's looking even stronger on the other side of it.
I absolutely think that it's again, it's the front runner to win. I can't see anything else. It had its strongest season ever, which blew me away. The season surprised me constantly in the quality, and I think that the Emmy voters recognize that same thing. Multiple nominations in writing and directing, and I cannot imagine any other show possibly taking it down.
Yeah. Ralph, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the exact same thing. I'm with Charles. I think, I've been pretty critical of Veep, as you know, because you're just a Veep lover, so it's hard to discuss with you. Like last season being not Emmy worthy, but it still won. This season was outstanding. It was incredible. It was maybe one of the best, or I think it was the best comedy of the year by far. The episodes were just all just so good, and Julie Louis-Dreyfus again was just at the top of her game. I mean, there was really nothing you can really say bad about Veep, and I think just it shows it receiving the most nominations it's ever gotten. Going from 9 to 17, that's huge. I don't see how anything else could top it.
If anything else does win in the comedy series category, it's probably going to go down as one of the biggest upsets in Emmy history.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think I don't quite prescribe to the theory that this year was better than last year of Veep. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they're very similar level seasons in my mind. But that put aside the quality, I think Veep has in some minds gotten stronger this year. And I think the competition has gotten weaker. I think Transparent had a much better claim to this award last year. I think Modern Family was a bit stronger positioned as well. I think it's there hasn't been that challenger to Veep rise this season. Silicon Valley, I don't think is as strong as it was last year as well. Although maybe in a stronger Emmy position because of the Thomas Middleditch nomination. What show do we think would take it from Veep if a show could take it from Veep?
I think probably if anyone could, probably Silicon Valley. But as much as I love Silicon Valley, for me that's very hard to see happening. It's very hard for me to see that happening.
Ralph?
I don't know if I have an opinion on this one, because I just can't see any of the other nominated series really winning. If Silicon Valley had the year the season that everybody hoped it was going to have, I think then that would be the biggest challenger, and there would be a dogfight between the two. But it was relative. It was just okay. It wasn't the best season they've had, and Modern Family just keeps going down in nominations. It still has broad appeal, but it's kind of been there, done that. It's just kind of interesting that that Veep is so dominant in its last kind of hurrah seasons. It was nominated 3 times before it won. So it's not like it's a brand new show that's just booming out of the gate. It's an older show. But I think it's because there's fatigue from Modern Family having won so much that there had to have been something else to take the reins, and they picked Veep, and no other new comedy has come out to kind of challenge it like that. Transparent is not a comedy; it's a drama. It just happens to be a half-hour drama, and that's not. I mean, no matter what anybody says about, it's won these Guild Awards or these little, it was in Producers Guild or Writers Guild or. I mean, when you're talking about a popularity vote, that doesn't matter. It's all about what's in now, and Veep going from I guess like you said, Veep going from 9 to 17 nominations is pretty telling. So I don't really think there's anything that can beat it.
I will say with Silicon Valley, and I may have said this earlier, but I do. The one thing I will say about the rise is that I find promising about it is that it keeps on. It got more. It continued to get more nominations than it did last year, and hopefully this could put it on a trajectory so that if the next season of Silicon Valley is what we all had hoped that this season would be, if it's more consistent. It could definitely, it can break through and be put in there and be in competition to possibly win at a future ceremony.
Yeah, And I think Silicon Valley is in a sort of Veep type position where every year it's picking up a bit of steam, getting more nominations, in the mix for comedy series every year. Even the first season, and I know, Ralph, you were very confident it was getting in for the first season, but not everyone was, and not everyone was predicting it, and it got in anyway. A bit similar to Veep in its first season, that not everyone was predicting it would get in, and it did. So I think the one question mark between Silicon Valley for me has always been, does it skew a little too young for the Academy? Like, Veep's about, the White House and politics, and has that air of pretension about it that maybe Silicon Valley doesn't have. Like, it seems important, Veep, in some ways. I think that's the one hurdle that Silicon Valley needs to clear, and I think it could definitely do it. If Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt got more nominations, I could see it being the spoiler. We saw 30 Rock win Best Comedy Series 3 times. I think Emmy voters do like Tina Fey. They like her writing style. It's clearly a comedy show, but it didn't get in for writing.
Yeah.
That show's never going to win if it's not in for writing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. To what you were saying, though, and I know we're basically making this the Silicon Valley show, but I would say that Silicon Valley skews a bit young if this were maybe 6 or 7 years ago, but by now, with how long the tech industry has been prevalent, I think now it's a bit more mainstream, and even if you're not as familiar with it, you kind of feel like you know tech culture more if you watch the show.
Yeah, no, that's fair. What about what acting race would you like to talk about, Ralph?
I don't know. What categories are we sticking with comedy?
Yeah, let's stick with comedy and let's do one of the leads. Lead actor or lead actress?
Let's go. Lead actress. I think we already know Julia's going to win that one, right? Like, there's nobody in that category that's really going to compete too hard with her. Maybe Laurie Metcalf, just because she's so popular. She just got 3 nominations. So why don't we go with the actor?
No, Laurie Metcalf's not going to win that.
I didn't say she was going to win. I said she was going to be competitive.
I think Amy Schumer would be the competitive one.
I don't know. I think she's too divisive to be that competitive. You either really like her or you really don't.
Yeah, but, surely Laurie Metcalf has some pros and cons as well. I don't know. I feel like if anyone beats Julia, it'd probably be Amy at this point.
I don't know. Laurie Metcalf does have 3 Emmys on her mantle.
Yeah, but, there's other places where they can vote for Laurie Metcalf.
Yeah, but those are in the guest categories, not in the lead category.
Yeah, I guess. What do you think, Charles? Who's the most likely to dethrone Julia?
I would say if you're going to dethrone Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you have to be an even bigger Emmy queen than she is, and no one is bigger than Lily Tomlin. So if by some crazy circumstance she were to lose, my guess it would be Lily Tomlin. Or possibly Ellie Kemper, but I think that's even more remote.
Okay, let me throw a crazy suggestion out there for this category. What about Tracy Ellis Ross? The only person in this field from a multi-camera sitcom. We've seen people upset from multi-cams here before. Melissa McCarthy for Mike and Molly. Completely took us off guard when she won here. I'm wondering if Tracy if anyone could beat Julia if she's the one.
Is Blackish multicam?
Oh yeah, good point. It's not.
No, it's single cam.
Yeah, it's single camera. Still half-hour sitcom format.
Laugh track. It's a bit more your standard sort of thing. Sorry, yeah, it might not be a multicam, but it's definitely more. It is different to the other 6 shows.
It's a network show. It's a network show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's it. Because especially with Julia being so far ahead, I'm looking at what are the types of performances where we've seen upsets. And like you do sometimes get those more network traditional type of sitcom upsetting here, from John Cryer to Melissa McCarthy.
If the episode submission mattered as much as it used to, I'd say that would definitely be a possibility. I don't think it matters as much anymore with the broader voting pool, and I think it's all about more a sense of momentum if you're going to factor that in, and to me, I find I find it very hard to see Veep winning comedy series, but somehow Julia losing out on this one. I don't know if anyone has won. Did Candice Bergen win 5 in a row for Murphy Brown?
Not in a row.
Not in a row. Okay. I don't know if anybody's done 5 in a row for acting. First. And I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility. But still, I just imagine her so far ahead that it's hard for me to imagine anyone else possibly taking her down.
How many did Don Knotts win for Andy Griffith in a row? I know he won a bunch in a row.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Way back when. But I mean, this category is sealed up. Like, why aren't we talking about?
Okay. Let's go to lead actor.
This makes no sense.
Yeah, okay, let's go to lead actor, where a lot of people would say Jeffrey Tambor does still have a bit of a lead to repeat, but definitely not with the safety of Julia. Ralph, you were saying, though, before we started the chat, that you felt like Jeffrey Tambor was maybe in a more weak position than people are predicting.
Yeah, I think last year was completely different because Transparent was like the new hot show, and everybody was, already just crowning Jeffrey Tambor as the, winner before nominations even came out, and because he had never won before. He's won now. Transparent isn't really as talked about, as buzzed about as it has been. It was, second season was a bit more dramatic than the first season, and even the first season was pretty dramatic. If you've watched it, I mean, he's really kind of almost a supporting player, it seems like, because the show focuses so much on the kids. So, I think what we could see here is somebody like Aziz Ansari, win. I think he's popular enough to get that kind of win. If it was based on episodes, like I mentioned, I think Tommy Middleditch would have a really great shot of taking this because he has such stellar episodes throughout the season. So I think it's a hard category. I think for right now, I will put a pin in Jeffrey Tambor, but I may probably end up changing it as we go along and see what episodes are submitted and just kind of get a feel for what people are talking about.
And I completely agree with that. By the way, I just looked up Don Knotts. Don Knotts won 61, 62, 63. And then there was a gap, and he won 66 and 67. So, yeah. I think Anthony Anderson is also a possibility in this category. For the same reasons I would put Aziz Ansari and Thomas Middleditch as reasonable, as very possible threats to Jeffrey Tambor, because their shows are obviously they're getting more broad support. They're expanding their net. Specifically, Master of None got into comedy series and writing, so there really is a lot of adoration for this show. And same with Blackish, being going from one nomination last year to, or maybe a couple tech, I can't remember, but to now being nominated for comedy series, lead actor, lead actress, getting those 3 big ones as well.
I think with Aziz, and I love Aziz, and I would probably, just looking at the list, be voting for him in this category if I was a voter. The thing I'm worried about with Aziz is, like, it's not the same performance, but he does, I feel like, run into some of the same cons that Louis C.K. ran into on Louis. Of sort of being perceived as sort of like playing himself, or maybe a bit more understated, or a bit more like all those issues. It's a similar type of performances in some way. And there were some years when Louis C.K. was going into this race the front runner. or the perceived front runner, and he still wasn't able to win. I think it's hard for comedians to win in this category for these types of performances, and I wonder if that will be his undoing, and maybe if Aziz is more likely to win in the writing category, and if that's where he could be rewarded by the Emmy voters. I also just question a bit with Aziz. He when he spoke with us, he said he was tossing up submitting the mornings episode or the parents episode. I would say the parents episode would put him in a lot more of a winning position. They're both good performances, but there's a chance to go mornings, which I think is a bit less of a winner's tape.
Yeah, I think on your Aziz point, though, I think you have to remember that we're on a popular vote now. Like when Louis C.K. and Larry David and all of them, weren't winning because they were submitting episodes that people had to judge. Right now, we're on people that really, and I mean, his show got into Best Comedy Series, and also didn't he was on how long did it last? 7 seasons of Parks and Recreation. So people know that he can, act not as himself on his show. And I think that in itself also helps him tremendously.
It also helps that he's not playing someone named Aziz Ansari, unlike Louis C.K. and Larry David. So that could at least help. Even if the character is very similar to him, it puts up another layer.
Yes, it's a lot harder to act as a Dev than an Aziz.
I know that was my unraveling as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, playing a Dev, it just didn't work.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go to the drama lead categories, guys. Who do we think is going to win drama lead actor, Ralph?
I think Kevin Spacey's still a front runner. He won the Golden Globe. He won the Screen Actors Guild. I think he'll probably end up getting the trifecta, especially if House of Cards doesn't really win. Drama series. But I also would look out for Rami Malek. I think he has a really good shot. He's really popular, especially right now. Season 2 of Mr. Robot is airing right now, so voters will still get a chance to see his new work as well. So I think that can only help, even though, oddly enough, as much buzz and popularity, the show premiered to its lowest ratings ever. So that was kind of weird. But I think I'm going with Kevin Spacey on this one.
Okay.
With regards to Rami Malek, here's something that's interesting. How old is his character supposed to be in Mr. Robot? Like early 20s, right? Something like that, right? Yeah. The man is 35. I mean, and if people are believing that he's actually in his early 20s, I say give him that trophy right now.
Yeah.
I still think Kevin Spacey probably out front. Bob Odenkirk, he doesn't have a solid episode, I don't think, this year. I mean, he's good as he always is in the season, but he doesn't have that standout episode like he had last year. But the presence of Matthew Rhys, I think, really complicates things here.
Yeah, that is interesting. We have seen a real embrace for the Americans. It hasn't been just Matthew Rhys that's in. That's probably my proudest prediction of the nominations as I moved Matthew Rhys in to the lead actor race on the day of nominations. But I wasn't really thinking him as a winner. Now, as a show that's in for drama series, in for drama actress, maybe there is support that's broad enough behind the Americans to get in. I think not seeing people like Ray Seahorn and Michael McKean get in shows that maybe Better Call Saul's not a show that all the voters have been watching across the board, like some of the others. So I think that hurts Odenkirk. I think the season final, though, he's got a great scene at the end. Last year I thought his tape was better, but I think he's pretty, and I think that's the one he's planning on submitting. So Odenkirk, I think, Kyle Chandler, it's going to be hard to see him win for Bloodlight. I do think this field is looking good for Kevin Spacey.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I'd put him out front, but there are certainly a lot of variables that I'm not sure what to make of yet.
Yeah. Now, lead actress in a drama series is a lot, I think, like, could go a couple of different directions. Ralph, what's popping out to you here?
My early predict on that one is Tatiana Maslany winning.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think that
Back it up, because I'm skeptical.
Viola Davis last year winning, I mean, she had a lot of, buzz around her. You had a 2-time Oscar nominee coming over to television, doing this television show that was extremely popular, and, she would be either her or Taraji P. Henson were battling for who was going to be the first African-American female to win lead actress in a drama. Of course, it happened to be Viola Davis. Kerry Russell, I mean, she got in, but she could have gotten in on the coattails of the Americans, getting into drama series. I'm not sure if she's that highly regarded. She hasn't been nominated before. Robin Wright had an exceptional season, and she's got a killer episode. But, I think with the reason I'm going with Tatiana for right now is because not only did they bring her back, but I think the more people, now that Emmy voters watched her episode from last season, if they did, and get to know the show more and see how difficult her role is to play these multiple characters when you don't have a big front runner like Viola Davis that you have to battle against, or Taraji P. Henson, who also has a great episode to submit this season. But and then I think it becomes a much more wide open race, and in that, when you're playing multiple characters, just like with the Louis Anderson transformation on the comedy supporting actor side, I think you have a better shot. And if she can submit an episode where at least people don't need to know the story all that well, and just see her kind of seamlessly go from one to another character, I think that she could win it, and that's why I'm predicting her to win.
Here's my problem. When I look at Viola Davis, last year's winner, and I look at the big drawbacks against that her winning again, it's pretty much like the biggest one is that her show's not really popping up anywhere else. That like it's really, this isn't a show that they're particularly watching. But Tatiana Maslany's show isn't popping up anywhere else. If a Viola Davis loses this year, won't it be to a Robin Wright who's in a show that like we know the Academy voters love, like got more nominations this year, like or even a Kerry Russell or Claire Danes from shows that we know the Emmy voters are watching?
I much wasn't for Shield. That was his only nomination. Bryan Cranston won the first year of Breaking Bad series. So, no, I don't think so.
But I will say about the Shield, the first year was I think writing and directing. I know it was up for writing for its first season when Michael Chiklis ended up winning, and what was the other one that you used there? I can't remember.
Cranston.
What was the other show you just?
Cranston.
Cranston. Breaking Bad had 4 nominations, including directing. So there was the acknowledging. I think if there's any evidence of this, you could look at a show like Mom, where Allison Janney has won 2 Emmys for a show that has not gotten any other nominations, despite the fact that it is a very well-received show, which is something amazing considering it's a half-hour comedy on CBS. It continues, and still I think a lot of us are probably going to be having her in our #1 spot this year. Even though still the fact that it hasn't gotten any more nominations, that is a promising thing.
I think it has 3 total this year.
Oh, well, good for them for getting past that 2 mark. So I'm on your side, Rob. I don't have her as a prediction right now. If I had a prediction, it'd probably be Robin Wright. But I think this category is much more wide open. There was also the historical feel of last year, coming off of the whole the first Oscar So White would end up being part 1 of that fun series, and now and I think now it is not one to be counted out.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say counting her out, but I do think like a Cranston and a Chiklis both won for piping system, and I think that as Charles said, those shows did get a bit more attention in other categories as well. But yeah, I could see a Maslany winning. I just don't see how she's at the top of the and I think the biggest reason for a Maslany win is it is a somewhat divided field. You could see the Emmy voters going any direction here. This is not a Jeffrey Tambor or a Kevin Spacey or a Julia Louis-Dreyfus where you do have that firm front runner and it's sort of like who's going to be the alternate. It's a much more divided field. I do think when you have a divided field, though, it can sometimes be good just to go with the person that won under last year's voting system. The same, who won under under a similar circumstance last year. We know at least that person can garner votes. Though, How to Get Away with Murder, this is not a show on Emmy's radar at all. So,
I think the other thing...
Who I'm going to predict here? I guess I might go with Robin Wright if I had to go with one at the moment.
Something else to keep in mind about Viola Davis is she is going to be having Oscar buzz coming up for the film version of the play Fences. A lot of people, she's going to be having Oscar buzz for that, and as we've seen before, Oscar buzz for something is never a bad thing.
Mm. Yeah, the level of respect that there would be for Viola Davis in the industry, particularly considering her film career, is something to be, I think, considered as well. Keeping her alive for a show that otherwise would be struggling to, win Emmys.
Yeah, I also think that you see just a much more broad and younger Emmy voter now as compared to in the past, and even just a few years ago. I mean, you have Game of Thrones finally winning, a fantasy show that people were saying for the first 4 years wasn't winning because it was a fantasy show. You have these actors like Maisie Williams and Kit Harington getting in also for the show on the acting side. I mean, you have Mr. Robot getting in, which is not just your procedural drama, and so I think there's a lot more in the actors branch, a lot more room for young votes to pop out. And if you're thinking that, I mean, like Charlie said last year, you had the historical aspect. Like everybody knew Viola Davis was going to win, and if it wasn't her, it was probably Taraji P. Henson. I think that's why I would also give a little bit of a bump to Tatiana Maslany. Let's be honest. You never expect Orphan Black was never pretending to be a best drama contender. No. Never. That's not what it was going to be. It's not a very big technical show. I mean, it maybe makeup and hair because she plays so many different clones, but that's pretty much where you're thinking it's going to land. So that's also why I think there's the fact of her getting in now twice as the show's sole nomination. Is pretty big.
Yeah, it is interesting though, talking about Kevin Spacey as the front runner for lead actor and Robin Wright as a real contender. Me and Charles both sort of probably got her in our first slot at the moment for lead actress. That'll be interesting on Emmy night if it takes out the 2 lead acting awards and then doesn't go on to win series. Has happened before, like Sopranos often won those 2 categories and didn't win series, so it's not
twice. It did it twice.
Yeah, so it's not unheard of. It would be interesting though in a more popular vote scenario than a tape system that you'd have a situation like that where last year we saw more sweeps than sort of inconsistencies.
And I think that's probably that also reflects the new voting system that would allow that sort of thing to happen.
And it's also worth saying though, the Game of Thrones, that is the show that would beat House of Cards, does not have any contenders in these 2 categories as well. So it's not like House of Cards maybe won that because it's their second favorite show, and their favorite show didn't have anyone in the lead categories. So yeah.
Right.
Any like we probably don't have time to go through all the supporting categories. Do you want to just touch on miniseries a bit? It's looking like a real barn burner of Fargo versus O.J. Simpson to me.
Yeah, I would agree with that, except, and this didn't hit me until about maybe 20 minutes after the nominations came out. Fargo, I think, did not do as well as it could have done here. Patrick Wilson was left out. That really surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been safe for a nomination. Also, it got two supporting actor nominations for Jesse Plemons and Bokeem Woodbine, but no Nick Offerman, no Jeffrey Donovan.
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson, yeah, that was another one that's surprising. And only Gene Smart in the supporting actress category, not Krista Milioti or I can't remember the name of the other person I was thinking of, but yeah, I think Fargo underperformed here.
Yeah, Ralph.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think it's a barn burner at all. I think it's American Crime, O.J. Simpson. So that's it.
Yeah, I'd predict that one too. It is interesting that with a Fargo that you can get two nominations in an acting category and still be perceived as performing weak in that category because your main rival has gotten three nominations, acting nominations in that category. So that I think is quite funny. So O.J. Simpson out in front, which would be nice for Ryan Murphy, who never was able to take out that top award for American Horror Story. Are there any final thoughts on any of the categories, guys? Any sort of bold predictions you want to throw out there now?
No.
No, I just have I think the drama side is really interesting because in all of those categories except maybe drama actor, I mean that drama supporting actress category is just mind boggling. Not using the F word because it's like you have three Game of Thrones people in there. You got Maura Tierney who got in there. Surprisingly, Constance Zimmer for Unreal, Maggie Smith, and we just mentioned that they don't really care about saying goodbye, very much. Yeah, who wasn't nominated last year and came back this year, and Joanne Froggett's out. Like that whole category. Uzo's not there. Everybody thought maybe she would repeat again. That's a crazy category to me.
Who do you think wins that crazy category, Ralph? Who's jumping out to you?
For me right now is Constance Zimmer, just because I think she's so well known and so well liked within the industry. She was on House of Cards a few seasons ago. Like she's worked with a lot of people on a popular vote. I'm not sure if I think all the Game of Thrones ladies kind of beat each other up in that regard. I don't see Maura Tierney really winning. I think it's Maggie Smith versus Constance Zimmer, and right now I have Constance Zimmer, or at least who I'm thinking.
Each Game of Thrones actress there has a good tape for minds. They all have an obvious submission as well. So the be interesting to see how that stacks up. Charles, who do you think in that race do you think could take that out? Because I agree with Ralph. It's a fascinating one.
Yeah, I have no idea what to make of it. Constance Zimmer, going back even further, was on a show that you and I love, Matt, Boston Legal. She was on for a couple seasons. That'd be. I think Maisie Williams could be a real threat here. Her or Amelia Clark. I think Amelia Clark has that badass episode with the council or whatever, and that was screw spoilers, and she sets the whole thing on fire. That was so awesome. And I like Game of Thrones, but I'm not someone who's like insanely passionate about it. I love that episode. And I've always thought Maisie Williams has always been a real standout. You see some people and you just think, okay, they're child actors, but this is an actress. This is a real actress who's really, just raising the game on this. And I think she could be a very potent force here.
Yeah, I think Unreal, if Constance Zimmer wins for Unreal, as Ralph proposed, and I think if I had to pick someone to win this category, say Amelia Clarke, I think she's probably got the best sort of scene or moment, but I'd be worried about Lena Headey. Constance Zimmer, if she wins, will that be a good argument for this new system? That someone can come through the new system with a smaller show, a show that definitely does it like from Lifetime, and still be able to win and go against maybe a Game of Thrones sweep or something like that?
It's much better in the case of any race did last year.
What, sorry?
I said I think it would it makes the case for because last year just was all about group mentality. To me, it was all about group mentality and getting Peter Dinklage winning supporting actor. You know, under the old voting system, that would not have happened.
Yeah.
That's not have as many nominations. We're able to break through with this in a popular field category. That would to me would bring legitimacy to this voting system.
Yeah.
But what do I know?
Yeah. Ralph?
Does it? I don't know. I mean, I guess you would have to wait and see. I think it would just lend to the fact that I mean, it also depends on episodes that are submitted. Like, we can't really judge that until we see the episode submitted. Because if Constance Zimmer submits something that isn't great, but she still wins, and then I think it really underscores the fact that what a lot of people have said is that it's just a popularity vote, and you're taking away the essence of what the Emmys were. But if she submits an outstanding episode and she wins, and everybody else is just okay, then I think it's just it's a great thing. I think the fact that she got nominated in such a major category for a small show that really is a critical darling, not really big on ratings, already shows that the influx of new members kind of helped that. So yeah, I don't know. And then like Charlie said on the drama supporting actor side, hopefully we won't see Dinklage win again. He's always good, but he didn't have really that much. I think Kit Harington will probably win this one. I know. I'm sorry. I know, but he's a popularity vote. It's a popularity vote.
And you look at
I would welcome John Voight before Kit Harington.
John Voight, you would not welcome John Voight. He's a Republican.
As I said, I don't like the character. I'm very adamant about this.
Let's just quickly touch on the comedy supporting actor races since we talked about the drama ones. Is Alison Janney just got this locked up again, or can we? Real quick,
I want to see who you guys think. Drama guest actress. We now have Ellen Burstyn, who can get nominated for 14 seconds, and we have Margot Martindale, who can win for under 2 minutes of screen time. Those two are going to be battling it out for that award.
Good action drama.
Who's the biggest name check?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think Laurie Metcalf is very formidable here.
Yeah, I think this is where Metcalf wins.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. Back to your supporting actress question.
Janney?
I think in that group there, Alison Janney. I mean, she hasn't lost yet. To Charlie's point on the Americans, don't vote for it until it actually gets in there, or put it on your prediction list. I think Janney, I won't take her out until she loses. This seems like a performance that can win 3 times. I mean, Doris Roberts won 3 times. Laurie Metcalf won 3 times, or 4 times, yeah. I mean, I think they'll just give it to her again. She's the most popular one there.
I think Anna Klopsky has a chance because of Veep's bounce upswing in nominations.
Here's the thing about that, Ralph. If Janney wins this 3rd one, that means she's going to win 3 times in a row. Do you really want that to happen, Ralph?
Do Do I want Allison Janney to win 3 times in a row?
Ralph? Right? Oh, we got a delay going on here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a you're very slurred, Charles.
You
is
are.
what I'm
very,
hearing.
very slurred.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's my problem then.
There you go. You're back.
You're back, Charles.
Hooray! I'm sorry about that. No, I was just saying the feud that you and Marcus have. That's Marcus being proved right about something.
Oh, that he predicted that she was going to win 3 times in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have no, I mean, it is what he predicted, but I had no problem with that prediction because I actually like Mom and I like Allison Janney in the show, and I was hoping she was going to win. So if it would have been something different, like if Rachel Bloom had gone in, then that would be something that I wouldn't be happy with.
I feel like Marcus
Marcus
has pointed out a lot of people that they'll get nominated like 3 times, win 3 in a row, and then they haven't. Right? Like,
he was bound to be right about one of them.
yeah. that might not be true. Apologies to Marcus Dixon.
But I will say, I think if it's not Allison Janney, I think Judith Light has a pretty good shot.
Not Kate McKinnon.
I would predict Kate McKinnon, but again, no person for Saturday Night Live has ever won outside of Jan. So again, not predicting it until it happened.
Yeah, I think Anna Klumsky has a good chance of winning this if they're a bit over Allison Janney, though I'm not sure if they will be.
I don't know if Anna Klumsky. I would really like Anna Klumsky, but I don't know if she was really in that position, even though Veep is very popular. I mean, you have Kate McKinnon, who in an election season is playing Hillary Clinton. Mm-hmm. She's in Ghostbusters, which is bound to be pretty big at the box office, potentially.
No one from Saturday Night Live has ever won a supporting category.
Yeah, I heard it the first time,
but also, Amy Poehler couldn't win when she was playing Hillary Clinton in an election year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we've already kind of assessed that they just don't like Amy Poehler winning at the Emmy.
It's not that they don't like Amy.
Oh, they totally don't.
They were nominated her all the times they didn't like her.
Hey, Matt, you're kind of fuzzy there, and I'm getting an echo on your end, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Better?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Obviously, it's better. You're not talking. There's not going to be an echo. Anyway, look, the comedy supporting actor, guys. Do we have a pick for that?
I think I would love Tony Hale to be. I think Tony Hale's probably out front. I would love Titus Burgess to win. He does have another good episode this year. Not quite on the same level as Pinot Noir, but still very good.
Louis Anderson, Baskets.
Yeah, like Louis Anderson wins. That's definitely maybe a counterpoint, I would say, against the tapes not applying anymore in Emmy voting. I think, it's interesting. I think Tony Hale is probably the front runner, sort of a bit defaultish, but also because he was really good this season, and Veep's in a strong position. Matt Walsh is an interesting one, and he's very it's no surprise he got in because of all the work he does with the UCB and the Upright Citizens Brigade, and and all the people he's worked with. So I think he's got a chance too. I think probably if I was to say that, like, Brower, Keegan, and Ty Burrell might be in sort of the positions where it's going to be hard to win.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay. I think we've broken down Emmys. We've had a few little technical things throughout the chat, so while we're still going strong, let's wrap things up. Go to Gold Derby to read all the predictions and all the thoughts and stuff like that. And thanks, Charles, and thanks, Ralph, for chatting with me. Okay. We